skin. Let's all come together.
There she is.
Yo. Hello, hello.
Hi, Julie. Come on in.
Can you hear me now?
This is fun. Your avatar is very convincing. It looks like you.
It looks just like me, right? Or my ideal version. I mean, I was going back and I was looking at everybody else who's done your show and like, I don't know, theirs could use a little bit of work. Does Alex Hooper's mustache really look like that? I don't know. I'm the avatar critic now. That's going to be my position of like, I'm transitioning from comedy journalist to stereo app avatar critic.
Well, I'm sure they would appreciate it because avatars are the new profile pics, you know.
I'm not convinced.
Come on into the chat, folks. This is Jeff Ross. This is Thick Skin with Jeff Ross, live on stereo tonight. My guest is comedy journalist / aficionado / superfan / smart person, Julie Seabaugh. And you should follow her on stereo and in real life. Not in a stalkery way, but, you know, like on Instagram and stuff like that.
I mean, I'm pretty lonely in the pandemic, so whatever.
Why should you be lonely? That doesn't make any sense. You should have guys banging down your door with all your comedy knowledge and youthful good looks.
I don't know. Something about the whole that combo you were listing, the smart / opinionated / I don't know. Maybe it's intimidating or something. I don't, you know.
Tough to say.
What do the noises mean? Are these like people knocking on the question?
No, that's
board?
people going, "Ooh, I like her. This is cool. Let's talk about it." Mitch Hedberg and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. We can get into all of it.
Yeah. For folks coming in right now, my friend Julie Seabaugh, she's an accomplished journalist. She wrote the Roast Battle book. What was the official Ringside at Roast Battle? What was it called?
Yes, Ringside at Roast Battle, the first 5 years of LA's Fight Club for comedians. Now that I'm saying that, it seems like a mouthful. I should have shortened it.
The great George Carlin once said of Julie, "You've got a nice style and personality about you."
Yeah, I interviewed him once. It was a great one. It was like an hour, and he called me Jules at one point. Like, come on.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
You interviewed George Carlin. Wow. You really are a comedy journalist.
I did. I interviewed Joan Rivers. I interviewed Carl Reiner. I interviewed Don Rickles.
Who made you the most nervous?
Ooh, that's a good question. I probably Carlin, because he does seem to have that kind of gruff exterior, and he was also, you know, such a master of the English language. So coming in with my little journalism degree, I probably felt like, oh, I don't know, is he gonna question my verb usage?
Right. He was a great linguist, George Carlin.
He was.
People are coming in. The fun thing about stereo is we get to talk to the listeners a little bit. So I'm going to pose some questions to people in the chat, such as who's your favorite comic, and what's the best comedy special you've seen lately. And as we get more specific about Mitch Hedberg, we'd love to hear your funniest Mitch Hedberg jokes and stuff like that. But
He's
you know,
got enough of
since
them.
we're in a
got
pandemic,
a ton to pick from.
shout out to Stereo for allowing me to record my podcast in a COVID-safe way. I really appreciate that. And before we really get deep down into your new documentary about Mitch Hedberg, I do want to let people know where they can hear it. It's on Sirius Radio, right?
Yeah, so it debuted on Thursday, this past Thursday, the 19th, on the Comedy Central channel, and it ran repeats Friday and Saturday. It's now available on the app, and I think it's for free until December 1st. And even after that, I think there's the trial period you can do, but I think the entire app is free right now, so check it out.
On the Sirius, what is it, Sirius Radio app?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
blue.
All right. It's blue. The app is blue or the comedy is blue?
Yeah. A little both.
That's great. Why I'm just curious. Well, you know what? Let's pop a few messages and then I'm going to ask you about the new documentary. Is that cool? Let's see who's
Absolutely.
out there tonight on stereo. Let's see who's out there. Come on, everybody.
Jeff, I gotta say my favorite roast that you did was you roasted the border. That hit me in all sorts of my feelings. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It was awesome. That being said, you look like the type of guy who gets his Uber Eats through a U-Haul truck. Nah, just kidding. You look like a teenage mutant Stephen Hawking.
Thank you, Russell. I'm following you for that. I appreciate you starting the night out by roasting me. I'm honored. You remember that special I did at the border? You wrote about it, Julie. That was really appreciated, man. It was awesome.
I think I even tried to go down there with you, but Comedy Central was like, no, it's too dangerous. I don't know if it was, I don't know if they didn't want to like have a journalist be kidnapped or anything like that. But I tried to do the in-person thing. But yeah, that was one of the best ones, and it was timely, and it, like all good roasts, it says a lot more things on a deeper level than people might initially think on the surface. So, as all your specials do.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Yeah, I went down to Texas, to the southernmost tip of Texas, and we all know that the tip is the most sensitive part of anything. And I roasted migrants as they crossed over into America as a way of humanizing the refugees and the people that were coming over, whether they came through with. I interviewed a coyote. I interviewed a pregnant woman just as she came over the border. I interviewed a father and son just as they came over in a raft. And Comedy Central very bravely let me put that on television to bring awareness to what was going on, especially in the age of build that wall, which is right when I was down there. And yeah, it was a good experience, Russell. Thank you for bringing it up. My guest is Julie Seabaugh. Her new documentary is available on the Sirius Radio app. It's called
Hope on Top, a Mitch Hedberg Oral History.
Ooh. Now, is Hope on Top, is that a reference to one of his jokes?
Yeah, it's one about if you're eating yogurt and you pull back the lid and it says "try again," and that, I'm butchering it, of course, but it's maybe they were having a contest I was not aware of, or maybe they were just trying to lift my spirits. Don't give up, Mitch. There's hope on top. A message from your friends at YoPlate.
He had so many amazing jokes. I was listening to one of his Conan sets today, and I think I'm about halfway through your documentary, and man, he really was such a brilliant guy. What was it about Mitch Hedberg that made you want to remind people how great he was and make this oral documentary?
Yeah, I was always a huge fan. From the moment I started being a comedy nerd, coming out of college and moving to New York, and he was kind of on the rise. Then he was like the hot guy, and everyone was talking about him. He was on the Comedy Central Live tour with Dave Attell and Lewis Black, so I caught him on that a couple times. I saw him.
Right.
Mike Birbiglia had a album release party at the Comic Strip Live for his album Dog Years, and Mitch just like showed up to open it to help his buddy Mike out. And I'd seen him at Montreal, and I'd done a really lengthy interview with him about 6 months before he died for a date that he was going to be doing in which I still have.
Wow.
It's up there with the rest of the greats that we mentioned. So as I was a massive fan, and as a fan, I'm always trying to find stuff on the internet about him as a person. And there's stuff out there here and there you can kind of piece together, but there hasn't been a cohesive more chronological look at his life as a comedian. So I, called in every favor in the book. We have Doug Stanhope, we have Dave Attell, Todd Barry, Tom Rhodes, and on the industry side, like Zoe Friedman, who was the person who first, she booked him for Letterman his first time. Promoter
She
Jeff
booked me
Wills.
too. That's awesome.
She's great. We love Zoe. Yeah. And then like Jack Vaughn, who actually started Comedy Central Records just so he could put out Mitch Hedberg albums. So got all these people together. And yeah, I think it's a really good example of not only like how he touched people with his comedy, but just kind of how inspiring he's been with his legacy. Like his jokes continue on. They're not dated. They're not, it's basically food and personal grooming and animals, and like anybody can listen to them. Like you can listen to it with your parents, you can listen to it with your kids, and it was always just a, unique, kind of sweet, kind of innocent, but always super, super funny way of looking at life through his eyes. So that was kind of what I was
his
trying
eyes
to capture.
his eyes that you had to look at through usually rose red or blue tinted glasses. He
wall of hair.
He buried himself in underneath hair and sunglasses. He was a rock star, Mitch Hedberg.
They called him the Kurt Cobain of comedy.
Oh wow, that's intense. And quite a compliment at the same time. What was he had one joke I used to love. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too. Was that it?
Yep. Mine is always, my favorite is, I think Bigfoot is blurry. To me, that is way more scary. A large, out-of-focus monster roaming the countryside. Run, he's fuzzy. Just so
God,
stupid.
That's great.
But yeah.
Well,
so there's a lot of those. Yeah.
It's pretty fun. Have you gotten good feedback from the documentary?
Yeah, it's I don't think I've heard anything negative yet. And Sirius XM said a ton of people listened to it. They didn't give you the actual numbers.
Right.
But I've had people, like through Twitter and messaging and stuff. I get a lot of people who said it made them cry, which is a good thing in this case, I guess. It touched them. And now we're kind of talking about maybe doing one with Brody Stevens next. You heard it here first.
Oh my gosh, Julie, come on. That would be great.
It's a very new development. Off the record.
Well, now someone's going to steal it. You have to make it now. Before someone takes your idea. But, Brody Stevens' oral history would be incredible. And Brody himself had such an amazing, delivery and his material. 818 for life, positive energy. He had so many funny jokes. I could see a little cottage industry for you. Every time a comedian dies, Julie Seabaugh makes a documentary about him.
I'm the ambulance chaser of comedy.
You grew up in.
I got to update my business cards.
How did you get into comedy growing up in Missouri? How did that even happen?
Right. So I grew up on a farm in
If
Missouri.
I recall, didn't Attell show up at your school or something, and you got turned on to comedy? Was that it?
Yeah, I didn't. Growing up on a farm, we didn't even have cable. I liked Letterman, but I couldn't really stay awake that late. If I hit the top 10 list, I was doing good. So I never saw comedy or really knew what it was. Living there in the middle of nowhere. And then when I went to the University of Missouri to study journalism, my senior year, your buddy Attell came and did a show at the student theater. And I got to interview him beforehand and then go backstage at the show. Sorry, I'm just drinking a little tea here.
That's so cool.
Right.
I love that my friend, my friend Dave Attell was such a big inspiration to you.
So after the show, we went backstage, and then some of us took him to the bar, the Heidelberg, across the street that the journalism students hung out at, and it was like the height of Insomniac at that time. So people were sending him Jägermeister shots all over tons of Jägermeister shots from all over the bar, and he's like sharing them with us because he can't drink them all. So I had a lot of Jaeger with Dave that night, and I woke up on my friend Dan's bathroom floor the next morning, puking my guts out. Like, I like this comedy thing. I think I'm gonna get into this because I was always writing. As a kid, I was always reading and writing, and I was doing more film and music stuff first. But then after that was the turning point. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to write about comedy. And I moved to New York immediately, hung out at the Cellar, was a maniac, drinking a lot until 4 a.m. And, 18 years later, here we are.
And since then, you've written for some of the biggest publications in show business: the New York Times, Rolling Stone, The Hollywood Reporter, GQ, Variety, The Village Voice, the AV Club, HuffPo, Spin, Playboy, Paste, Time Out New York, Time Out Chicago, and I think you did something in Vegas for me once. You've really done it. You've really done it, Miss Julie. You've really done it. You've carved a niche out that not many people can really say that they're an expert in, and that's modern comedy. Pretty cool.
Tell it to my bank account.
What, these audio documentaries about deceased comedians are not big bucks?
Well, the Mitch Hedberg one is my first, so we'll see how it goes from here. And I'm obviously, this is not necessarily the best time to be a professional journalist. Ever since the recession in 2007 and 8, if there's advertising sales are down, then that means there's less money to pay your journalists. And I'm trying to figure out ways to kind of elevate myself to a new level where it's still from the basis of journalism. So that's like where the Roast Battle book came from. It's where this special came from. It's an oral history. I've done these before. It's where this next project I'm working on, a documentary about 9/11 comedy, is coming from. So it's all still kind of the same skill set. It's just sort of elevating a little bit.
I love that. Well, folks just tuning in, my guest is comedy journalist Julie Seabaugh. You can pick up her book, Ringside at Roast Battle, The First 5 Years of LA's Fight Club for Comedians, on Amazon. And you can check out her new documentary on Sirius XM's Comedy Central channel on the app. And that's called Hope on Top, a Mitch Hedberg Oral History. Julie, there's a lot of people that want to throw comments at us, so I'm going to fly through some of these right now. All right, folks, we're live on stereo. This is Thick Skin with Jeff Ross. Everybody gets their 15 seconds of fame here.
Jeff Ross, I just want to know, what are you going to do when David Lucas Funny takes your job from you? Do you have a backup plan? Is stereo your backup plan? Let us know, please.
Shout out to David Lucas, who I've been stereoing.
I love him.
Quite a bit. Love him. He is awesome, and that's great. Yep.
Jeff, what's going on here? So why can't I do a show with you? I'm a super not a fucking fan of yours. So why can't I do it live with you? See? I don't understand. Come on.
Disco Dave, what's up?
Jeff, what is up? Julie Seabaugh? I'm sorry, pardon me if I, butchered the name, but hey, listen, shouts out to both of you. Thick Skin with Jeff Ross going live on stereo. It's your boy Jersey Worthy just tapping in.
Thank you, Jersey. Always love to hear from you. All right, let's see what the fans have to say about all things comedy.
Jeff Ross, you look like the turd that I just flushed 15 minutes ago.
All right, thank you for raising the conversation, Mr. Adam Baker. It's the Wild West here on stereo, Julie. You got to bear with these lunatics, okay? They like to roast me, and most nights I welcome it. I was trying to have a serious conversation, but sometimes.
It's my first time here. Be gentle.
Are abortion doctors pediatricians? I guess that's really the question, isn't it?
That is a very Hedbergian type of a joke, Stickles. Thank you.
Right?
I thought that are abortion doctors pediatricians. Yeah, I would probably say that they are. No, they're
It's a little
gynecologists.
edgy for Mitch, but
He wasn't really particularly dirty, was he?
no, it was all kind of like looking on the brighter side of things. There was, like who doesn't quote the escalator joke when you come upon a broken escalator? As sorry for the convenience. Like he had a way of looking at things that anybody else would see as a negative and kind of spinning them up into the positive. He was an optimistic guy.
I love that. What are some of your favorite Hedberg jokes? You want to drop a couple? Let's drop one every few minutes because they're gems, and I don't like to run through them. Mitch Hedberg had great one-liners, but they were really just sort of like nuggets of wisdom. Also, he was a philosopher, Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah. I think when I said the Bigfoot one is my favorite, and my second favorite, if I had to rank my Mitch Hedberg jokes, is the one where he's talking about the grilled Fritos. Where he's like, those Fritos with the grill marks of summer, when we used to fire up barbecue with Fritos. I can still see my dad with the apron. You better flip it. You know how I like it, Dad. I'm totally butchering it again, but it's just one of those things that Jack Vaughn says in the special. Like anybody else, any other comedian would have approached that with like, who's the advertising genius that came up with grill marked Fritos? But his twist on it was like, hell yeah, I love it.
That was great. He was so funny, man. I only got to meet him a couple of times, and he made me nervous. He was like too cool. He was cool, like you say, the Kurt Cobain of comedy. Whew.
We had the same birthday, not the same year, but the same date. So I always kind of felt like that we had that bond. So I just felt like, yeah, we're cool. I don't need to be scared of him. Plus, he was like a nice dude. So
yeah, and he was a married guy too, and he had a reasonably normal life other than being a rock star comic. And he did pass away from a drug overdose. I don't want to beat around the bush. It's always tough. Comedians, they live with some demons, and he wasn't the first, and he wasn't the last. But it seems like the hilarious ones have the most demons. Do you think that could be true, Julie?
I mean, a comedian, or anybody who decides that they want to be a comedian with their life, is someone who, is looking around at all their options. They don't want to do the 9 to 5. They don't want to do the normal thing. Like comedy is something that's a calling to a lot of people. Maybe like writing about it, comedy is to me, like it was never a decision. It just was. And I think that's the same with comedians, and especially Mitch. Like, he did things his own way. He lived mostly out of an RV driving around to shows. He passed up he passed up a lot of opportunities to do, shows that he didn't feel he was right for, that weren't like something that spoke to him personally. And that's why he didn't really ever do a lot of TV or film acting, and he even had that joke about it. It's like I'm going to get it wrong again. Let's see if I can look some of these up so I stop butchering them.
Take your time. It's okay.
It's like, he's living in Hollywood and everyone wants him to do other things than comedy. They ask him if he can act. It's related to comedy, but not comedy. It's like he's a cook and I work my ass off to become a really good cook. And they said, okay, you're a cook. Now, can you farm? It's his way of, he was always writing material about these real things he experienced. And that's a perfect example of like, he didn't really want to compromise. He was a stand-up first and foremost. and for all the good and the bad of that, because it is not a normal life, and you're putting yourself out there for the approval of strangers.
Right.
Like, that's not necessarily the healthiest coping mechanism, but along the way he came up with some just beautiful, brilliant material, and that's what lives on.
Do you know much about what his creative process was? How did he write these jokes? Did you ever ask him that?
I can't remember if I did per se. I mean, that was like 16 years ago. But on the special, Tom Rhodes, who was his best friend in New York for a while, was living in the Chelsea Hotel. Mm-hmm. They would have a lot of writing sessions and drug sessions together. And Attell is another one who mentions it, that Mitch always had his notebook open and was always writing through it. He went through notebooks like no one else. There's a part where Tom Rhodes is saying it was just insane, his output. Like, we were up for 3 nights in a row doing coke by the Holland Tunnel, and he came up with his cinnamon incense joke during all that. Where it's like, I could make cinnamon rolls, but I could also light a cinnamon incense stick, make my roommates wake up with false hopes.
Does it make you feel good to dive deep into someone's life, even though it ended tragically? It must give you a lot of good feelings to bring someone's memory back into the spotlight like this. So how do you feel about that?
I've always been kind of drawn to writing about aspects of comedy that aren't super mainstream. If somebody else is, if there's some big comic with a new special and everyone else is writing about it, I'm like, I'm bored. I don't want to do it.
Right.
But
you're looking for an angle, a good story that no one else has.
Yeah, and up and comers who people should know about, or stuff that's really super unique, as was the case with Roast Battle. And for me, kind of the creative process is in a lot of ways more important than the finished punchlines. I like getting into people's heads and understanding the context of like what was going on in their life and what influenced this material and what does it say about their outlook and how can it help change society for the better. Like, comedians are on the front line of social movements, and to me that's just way more important than like copying jokes word for word on some like clickbait article to like, oh well, I can't believe they said this. It's more about, for me, the intent and the perspective and like what it means to be able to like change people's minds about issues.
That's great. Good attitude, Jules. I like it. You're writing for the right reasons. You're not one of those critics who wants to take people down necessarily, or pick one type of comedy over another type of comedy. Or would you say you're a critic, or would you say you're a journalist, or do sometimes they mold together? Have you written many bad reviews or negative stories like that?
I don't really do many reviews anymore these days. I can't think of a ton of really bad stuff I've done. I would rather focus on the positive things, like I said, that people should know about, that they should, if examples of comedy that are superseding all the rest of it out there. Like, there's a ton of mediocre comedy, there can be a ton of bad comedy, but it's the good and the unique stuff that's always way more interesting to me.
That's great. What are you writing about lately? I know you're working on a documentary about 9/11. I want to ask you about that in a few minutes. Anything else? Like, have you gone to any of these COVID-friendly outdoor shows here in LA?
Let's see. I've been to 2 comedy shows in all of the pandemic, and they were actually like in the past couple weeks. Brian Moses, host of Roast Battle, invited me to. He's doing a new thing at the Comedy Store called Tiny Sets, based off of the NPR's was it Tiny Desk music
Tiny
sets?
Desk, right?
Yeah. So this is Tiny Sets. And I don't know when the last time was you were inside the store, but they've totally cleaned out the basement. One of those junk rooms is now a studio, and they were recording comedians doing 5 minutes in front of a little jazz trio. Everybody's super masked up. There's no audience at all. And it was like very cool to see kind of a jazzy, flowy, little tiny set, a little bite-sized nugget of comedy that he's working on, because Moses is always full of good ideas. So that was a nice little trip back to the store to see all the outdoor seating that I guess is going to go away in a couple of days when
it's so
LA
sad.
when LA shuts down again. But I think like the drive-in shows are going to still exist. I went to my first one of those on Saturday. Flappers is doing shows on Thursdays through Sundays in the bowling alley parking lot next door. And so I got to see Lori Kilmartin, Jackie Cation, our friend Eddie Firth, who's one of the creator producers of Historical Roast. He got up there and killed it. It was his first set he's done the whole time. So it was just really nice to like watch comedy. I was in a car. I had a lot of snacks.
I went to Chelsea Handler's premiere for her HBO special, and we all sat in our cars and ate snacks. It was kind of fun. And then I did go to a couple of outdoor shows, chasing Craig Robinson around town, and we went on together a little bit. And it was exhilarating to be back up there, even though the conditions were not perfect. You're outside, and everybody's spread out. I like to roast people. I couldn't really see people that well, but I asked them to put their phone spotlights on their faces so I could see them, and I wound up having a lot of fun with it. If you're just tuning in, what? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've been more kind of like watching stuff indoors, like the new Alex Hooper special he put out on YouTube, where he's running around London. That's a great one. So it's kind of more stuff like that for me recently.
Right. I love Alex Hooper, and I've done many stereo chats with him now, and his new special is on YouTube. Check him out. My guest is comedy journalist and documentarian Julie Seabaugh. Her new documentary about Mitch Hedberg is available on the Sirius XM app. I think it's free for a little while longer. And we're kind of just talking about comedy, shooting the shit about comedy. Who doesn't love comedy? Sometimes we do comedy and sometimes we talk about comedy. On Thick Skin with Jeff Ross, we kind of do both. So, you're hearing a lot of me and you're hearing a lot of Julie. Let's hear what you guys have to say.
Glad you finally figured out how to do that, Jeff.
How to do comedy?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. You guys are talking about Mitch, one of my all-time favorites. I want to know, how hard is it to be to be a Mitch? That really punny, one little setup, one punchline, next, constant jokes. Is that super hard to do? Because I don't hear anyone else doing it.
Well, it's very, very hard, and he was one of the best. What do you think, Julie?
Think people always compared him to Stephen Wright, was the closest.
Right.
But other than that, people try to do, kind of imitations of Hedberg. Attell talks a lot about it on the special where, he would go to a club and see all these bad Mitch imitators, and he'd fold his arm and be like, I don't like it. What do you think you're doing? And, but in a way, it's sort of an honor to have these imitators who loved you that much and, inspire. He definitely inspired a lot of people to do comedy. It's always better to kind of find your own voice, but if he's the gateway, I'm all for that. There's nothing wrong with that. As far as being able to fire him off that quickly, that's the beautiful thing about not having to be a comedian. I can just sit on the other side of it and enjoy it and tell people to listen to it. I don't know how he did it. He was definitely, once in a generation and even beyond. We're talking about him still now living on. It's been 15 years since he died. There's never going to be another one like him. So it's good to be able to celebrate him, and even if we can't really crack that nut of how he did it.
Yeah, he had a great mind. I was looking him up a little bit today. He died in New Jersey, which is where my pal Greg Giraldo died also. Oh boy. Jersey, I don't know.
That's where you're from.
I know. I have all this Jersey pride, but it seems to be bad luck for some comics. Heartbreaking to think about how sad this is. And you talk about Brody Stevens, but we quote Brody's jokes all the time, but you go back to talk about Mitch Hedberg and Greg Giraldo, and both of these guys died, more than a decade ago. So you can't help but wonder what their take on Trumpism and COVID would be now. And what a loss. What a loss. Thank you for keeping everybody's memory alive, especially Mitch Hedberg, who has a lot of fans out there. Really cool thing you're doing, Julie. A lot of people want to make comments. So here we go. We're live on stereo. This is Thick Skin with Jeff Ross.
Julie looks like the type of broad that says Donald Trump wasn't her president back in 2016.
I don't know what to make of that, Nick, but I think a lot of broads said that. So it wouldn't be hard to fit the description. Wouldn't be hard to fit that.
Fairly accurate. Fairly accurate.
Fairly accurate.
Okay, don't slate me. Don't slate me. I don't know who Mitch Hedberg is. I'm sorry. Clearly, there's a legacy involved, and I know nothing of it, so educate me. Let's see. Let's find out who Mitch Hedberg is. I could just Google it, actually. I might do that.
Yeah,
don't waste your breath. I'll Google it.
Well, the whole show's about Mitch Hedberg. We're talking about his legacy tonight. Great comic. Died 15 years ago, right, Julie? You want to hit us with another classic Mitch Hedberg joke?
Well, I just want to say I missed the guy's name who said that, but it's kind of almost exciting for him to now be able to Google him and start watching his sets. Like, I remember what I felt like when I discovered him, and I mean, this was before YouTube, but it just kind of blows your mind about where the limits of comedy can go. So I'm actually a little jealous of that dude who's about to discover Mitch.
Yeah, pretty cool. Very cool. All right, let's hear some more messages.
Now, wait a minute. Now, I done left a roast because I thought it was Thick Skin, and you changed it to the legacy of Mitch Hedberg. And now, what are we having, a memorial service in here? Are we supposed to roast poor Mitch in his brilliance, or can we still roast you? I'm so confused now. I'm so confused. Tell me what's going on.
You can roast me if you want. It's totally fine, Kim. I have no feelings, and I have thick skin.
I also...
Jeff Ross, your legacy gets renewed every time I flush the toilet. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Did I cut you off, Julie? What were you going to say?
I was just going to say she made me start thinking like, oh, wow, a Mitch Hedberg roast from Beyond the Grave would be pretty cool.
Ooh, wow. Dead comedians roast. I've heard that idea before. Maybe now's the time. Who better than you to put that together, Julie? Roast in peace. Roast in peace. It's a regular feature here on Thick Skin. We did a tribute to Norm Crosby a few days ago on Friday night. He was a great comic. He just passed away. He was like almost 90, I think. I love comedians. One of the legends. They either die young or they live to 100. Comedians are so weird like that. There's a lot of people want to weigh in. Here we go, folks. Live on stereo, where everybody gets their 15 seconds of fame.
Oh, fuck. I know who Mitch Hedberg is. I remember reading the whole thing. I just Googled it. That guy, yeah. I don't know how much I remember of accuracy, but I remember that guy. You know what? Off topic, Mr. Ross and Miss Julie, shout you guys out. Can I ask a question? Have either of you, or one of you, ever been roasted to the point of becoming emotional, like of actually getting upset? And if so, who was it and what did they say?
I never get
That's a
upset
good
at roast
question.
jokes. I always take it as an honor. What about you, Julie? Have you been roasted like that? We roasted you for your birthday once.
I mean, that's the only time I've been roasted. Yeah, that was actually in February. That was 2 weeks before all the stuff started shutting down. That was like one of the greatest nights of my life. Because I wanted to do something appropriate. It was a big birthday for me, and I didn't want to have like a dinner party or some shit. And what better way to, celebrate comedy journalism than to roast the shit out of me? And we had, it was like it was Mike Lawrence. I had my ex-husband. We had Brad
What?
Williams.
How did I miss that?
And then,
did he
and
hurt
then
your
the
feelings?
finale. No, he was the best one of the night. He ever up to me afterwards and was like, "That was the set." And I'm like, "I know. Why do you think I had him?"
Wow.
Yeah.
You're brave.
And then
I don't think I could handle it.
Well, he works with Doug Stanhope also, so it's it's kind of all in the family of like, he knows me well and he'll be funny, and he killed it. And then Attell gets up there at the end, so to kind of go full circle from him getting me into comedy all those years ago to then I actually like said a few roast jokes about him that I was very nervous about, but I guess they went okay. Like, yeah. I got a little happy emotional about it. But that was just a great night, and I can't thank you and everybody else who did it enough. It was just pretty awesome and appropriate.
That's great. You're a brave woman, Julie. I'm enjoying the comments. Let's hear some more.
Right now, my favorite is Bo Burnham. He's an innovator. He's interesting. He keeps it keeps you entertained the entire time, and he's really good at misdirection.
I like it.
I love Bo Burnham. Good
Very
answer.
funny guy. And I got to work with him a little bit when I was opening arenas with Chris Rock. Bo directed Chris Rock's Tambourine special, which
I saw him. I went to Edinburgh one year, and I saw Bo. This is probably like 2012, I think. And everything in Edinburgh is a castle. Every venue, it might be a small castle, but like all the coffee shops are little castles. Every parking garage is a castle. And so whatever castle I saw Bo Burnham in, it was more of an arena kind of castle. And to see all these, all the UK audiences losing their absolute shit for Bo Burnham.
Right.
Like he was a massive rock star. And it was just so impressive. And I totally agree with our commentator here, who, he's always changing, he's always evolving, he's always keeping you guessing. I think he's definitely one of the great younger talents in comedy. Can't wait to see what he does next.
Great. That's great to hear. I changed the topic for the last few minutes here to who's your favorite comic?
You asked the chat who their favorite comic was. In terms of talent, I'd have to say Richard Pryor, obviously. But if we're talking about who I'd like to see succeed the most, probably Dylan Stickles. He's a new guy. He happens to live in the same place and look the same. We actually have the same name. It's pretty cool. We wear the same clothes.
Thank you, Stickles. I got you. Nice one.
Yeah, it's definitely recency bias, but Chappelle's Sticks and Stones is exactly what we needed, I think, last year. And on Mitch, I mean, my favorite joke for sure of his of all time is the escalator joke, that it can never be broken.
I remember that one.
Yeah, two legends.
The escalators can never break because then they're just stairs or something like that, right? It was a great one. He was so funny, Mitch Hedberg. All right, who's your favorite?
Jeff, do you have any good Mitch Hedberg stories? I don't know if your paths crossed. I'm a big fan of stand-up. I dabble a bit myself, but I'm not a professional or anything. So, yeah, if you have any Mitch Hedberg stories, go ahead and share them.
Yeah, I only got to shake his hand a couple times. He'd pop up at the clubs. We weren't tight. I just showed him respect. I would say he was probably a little ahead of me or a little bigger than me, so I probably kept my distance. I do look back now and go, man, imagine that guy got a roast. Throwing those kind of jokes, man, he would have been incredible in a roast. Don't you think, Jules?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, he wasn't like, not that roasts are mean spirited, because we all know that they're, rooted in love. You only roast the ones you love. But just the idea of Mitch kind of trying to make those jokes to come back at people at the end is very amusing to me. I would have loved to see that.
Would have been very funny. This is Thick Skin with Jeff Ross. We're talking about comedy, your favorite comics. We're talking about this new Mitch Hedberg documentary on the Sirius XM radio app. And my guest is comedy journalist and documentarian, the one and only Julie Seabaugh. What do you want to say, folks? What do you want to say?
Hey, Jeff, I got a joke for you. Hey,
Yeah.
what's a guy from Florida favorite seasoning? Bath salt. Hey, I got another one for you. Hey,
Bath salt.
I don't know.
Favorite seasoning. Favorite season, bath salts.
Yeah, I don't think he quite had the wording as tight as a Mitch Hedberg joke, but I think he did fine. Thank you.
I used to hate the coronavirus. I still do, but I used to also.
Greg, what's up, man? That's a good one, buddy. One of my
That's like this mask is dry clean only, which means it's dirty.
Hey, what's a Mexican's favorite sport? Cross country.
Oh, Jesus, Clubber, come on. You got to do better.
Hey, yo, Jeff, I know you're like 72 years old, but your avatar makes you look like you're only 17.
Well, they don't have old, wrinkly avatars on here. You can't be fat or old on stereo.
She did butcher that joke.
I know. It happens. It's okay.
Didn't Mitch have the joke about Dr. Scholl's? And he was like, why did that guy have to go to medical school in order to name... Like, I would have, bought those things from, a Mr. Scholl's or, something like that. Like, he went for 4 years of medical school to learn that, little foam things was going to help your feet out. I mean, I would have bought that shit from a Mr. Scholl's.
Yeah,
what joke
right
is he
on.
referencing? What joke is she referencing there?
No, it's totally right on. It's and it's like the Dr. Pepper one too. Oh God, now I'm just spiraling. There's so many good ones to quote from, and I love hearing people say their favorite jokes. It's heartwarming.
This is cathartic. Let's keep going. See what we got.
Jeff Ross, what's up, man? You fat sack of shit. I'm glad to see you, man. The roast master.
I'm the only person in the world where people can compliment me by calling me a huge sack of shit. Roasting, it comes from love. It comes from love, folks.
Yo, what's up, guys? Just joined the conversation. I think I'm going to stick around for a little bit. Thank you guys so much for presenting yourselves on stereo. I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, guys, go. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Khalil Field. Thank you.
That's my favorite too. That's my favorite too. Now, in his memory, I'm not going to do his joke because I don't do other people's jokes. I make up my own.
Thanks, Liz. That was she left that message when you told your favorite Mitch Hedberg joke. And since there's a lot of new people listening, Julie, will you tell it again?
The Bigfoot one?
Whatever. Yeah.
That one? Yeah, that was my favorite one. I think Bigfoot is blurry. To me, that is way more scary. A large, out-of-focus monster roaming the countryside. Run, he's fuzzy.
Boy, you got that motherfucking cop hat on, boy. I'm finna flame your ugly ass, boy. Get your Mr. Bald, Mr. Clean head ass, boy. I'm finna dig in you, boy.
Thanks, boy.
If you're flammable and have legs, you are never blocking a fire exit. That's one of my favorite lines, jokes from Mitch Hedberg. Oh, great and missed.
Thank you, Lacey. That's really sweet. That
Such a good one.
Wow, people are really bringing up his spirit. I love
Jeff
it.
Ross, you look like a poo-poo, poo-poo, poo-poo-poo.
All right, Adam, we get it.
Jeff Ross has an extensive oral history.
All right, he redeemed himself.
Hey, Jersey Worthy, I think to be an MC, you have to know how to read.
Oh, that's mean. Come on. Don't heckle the other people listening. Come on.
Yo, Jeff Ross, how's it going, buddy? Hello, Miss Julie. Representing the live here. Mamba out.
Crust, thank you, buddy.
Hello.
What's up? What's up? It's your boy, Boo Boo.
Thanks, Krista. I'll take that into account.
Oh man, I'm sure you're such a nice guy, but you have to change your screen name because I'm from Jersey too. I know. I apologize to both of us, but as soon as somebody sees that title, they're going to be like, Jersey Worthy? Shit, he ain't worthy for much else then. But you sound like such a cool dude, I'm just saying. I moved to Denver, tried to spread my wings from this place, and the first thing they said was, oh, Jersey, huh? Armpit of America. As I flicked my cigarette butt into the street, and they all gasped in horror. Anyway, okay, bye.
Jersey Worthy is another person I've done long stereo talks with, so people love to sort of reference the other talks, Julie. I don't want you to be confused as to what's going on here. We're a community.
I mean, it's not Missouri. You know, you at least have like civilization in Jersey. It's not just like a bunch of cows and corn and stuff. So
No, New Jersey.
I'm a little envious.
Yeah, the ball-busting capital of the world is New Jersey.
That's a good-looking turd that guy flushed.
Thank you, Allie. Good one.
Wrong. That's wrong. Just want to let you know that's fake news. Fake news.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Boo. What is the question is, were you dropped as a child?
Yes, I was, and I had boiling water poured on my back. That's why I have thick skin. Thank you, Nana Helen. That really happened to me.
Hey, Jeff. When are you going to come up with the emotional support human tank top? I think it's perfect for the holidays, especially for girls. Please make it extra small and hope that you and Julie have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Asian Angela. Shout out to you.
Thanks.
I'm following you.
And good question.
I love your positive energy, Asian Angela. And yeah, an emotional support human shirts make great stocking stuffers. They're available on my website at roastmastergeneral.com. I love the idea of making tank tops, but every shirt is one scissors away from being a tank top anyway. So, all right, more messages.
Hey, I have a question for Julie.
It sounds like it's like Joe Urell doing a roast joke.
Shout out to Joe Urell. I love Joe.
I love him.
I am addicted to strippers and pornography. Help me.
All right, cash me.
Here's one for you. You ready? Are you ready? My fake plants died because I didn't pretend to water them.
He's got it. Yeah, he's down the Mitch Hedberg spiral loop. Yeah.
Wow. Did Mitch ever do jokes that weren't one-liners? Did he ever do longer jokes?
I mean, he had like chunks. He had like, stuff about cars that would go on and on. Where it's like I know a lot about cars. I can look at a car's headlights and know exactly which way it's coming. And then there was also one about being on acid, and I'm butchering them again. You think I'd be better at this after making this 2-hour special, but that's why I'm not a comedian.
No,
I leave it to the professionals.
I know. It's a lot of pressure to tell Mitch Hedberg's jokes, and I do love your Mitch Hedberg impression. Hit us with one more of your favorites.
Well, you did mention that your shirts make the good stocking stuffers, and that automatically triggered in my brain the Hedberg joke of like, a severed foot is the ultimate stocking stuffer.
I was at the casino once, standing by a door. A security guard came up to me and said, "You gotta move, you're blocking the fire exit." as though if there was a fire, I wasn't gonna run. If you were flammable and have legs, you were never blocking the fire exit.
Super Hyman 420, paying tribute to Mitch Hedberg. Thank you for that.
What's
up, Asia 7412? You tell me.
I was watching porn the other day, and as soon as the lady took off her clothes, my word of the day app popped up. The word was bodacious.
What is that?
I think that was an original.
I think that was an original.
Whenever somebody hands me a flyer, they're like saying, "Here, you throw this away."
Oh, yes.
Yep, bravo. Yes,
Classic
indeed.
Mitch Hedberg. Come on, you guys. You're killing it now.
I'll admit, I would want to tell you my best Mitch Hedberg joke, but it would honestly just sound like Stephen Wright trying to recreate it.
Julie, I adore you. You're so bright and cool, and you do so much for the comedy world. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight on Thick Skin with Jeff Ross. Pick up Julie's book, Ringside at Roast Battle, The First 5 Years of LA's Fight Club for Comedians. And please, for the love of God, check out her new oral history documentary about Mitch Hedberg, the great Mitch Hedberg. It's called Hope on Top, a Mitch Hedberg oral history. You can find that on Sirius XM's Comedy Central channel and the Sirius XM app. Look up down the road for her Too Soon, the Comedy of 9/11 documentary. Google her writing. She's a really cool person. She's written for all the biggest publications when it comes to comedy, and she's been really good to the comics. So support her in every way you can, folks. And any final words about Mitch Hedberg, my friend?
Dogs are forever in the push-up position. And we're going to mic drop on that. We're going to leave it at that.
Julie, big virtual hug. Thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, this is super fun. I'm digging this stereo app. I'll definitely be back.
Well, you got a lot of new followers and a lot of new fans here. So sending you nothing but love, and thank you for keeping all the memory of the comics alive, especially Mitch Hedberg with your new doc. All right, folks, life is hard, but don't worry. We're getting through it together. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Live on stereo, motherfuckers!